Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to show you how we can solve quadratic inequalities. The first thing that you need to understand about a quadratic inequality is that it's an expression that involves something like this: x squared minus 5x minus 14 greater than 0, for example. An inequality has to do with the fact that we are not given an equal sign but a greater than or a less than and so on and so on. So essentially what we need to do here is we need to find a way to show when this expression is positive. Clearly, there are infinite values that make this expression positive. So we cannot just give out numbers as we would do when solving the equal, right? If you said an equation is equal to 0, you would have certain numbers that are a solution, and that's it. But in this case, we have infinite values that make this positive. So we need to focus on how we can generalize this idea. And when we have a quadratic equation, we cannot straightforward solve. Okay, there's no way to just say, okay, x is equal to x is greater than something like straightforward. We need to do some algebraic process. How does this process work? Well, first, we're going to find the roots. How do we find the roots? The roots is we take the equation and we set this equal to 0. Now, yes, we use the equal sign, okay, but this is not the solution to our equation. This is just a process in solving the inequality. Okay, so we first find the roots. What do roots mean? Roots mean equal to 0. So how do we find this? We can use any of the methods that we have already discussed, either completing the square, factorizing, or the general method. For this one, I'm going to assume that you know how to solve it, and I'm not going to take time through it. In case you need any hint on how to solve it, you can go to my previous videos where I worked on it. The solutions for this equation are x equal to -2 or x equal to 7. These are the two solutions that we can get here. So now that I have the roots, I need to go to my second step, and this is to study the sign. Okay. Essentially, what I need to do is I need to find a way of showing how this equation behaves, this expression behaves. And what we do, at least here in Europe, what we tend to do is studying what we call the sign scheme. How does the sign scheme work? Well, we take the sign of this expression, x squared minus 5x minus 14, and we're going to study it through an excess of x. What do we know? We know that when x is -2 and when x is 7, the sign of this expression is equal to 0. Because that expression that we have here, when x is -2 and when x is 7, gives you 0. Those are the roots. So the sign for that expression is 0. And then we need to analyze if this is going to be positive, negative, positive, or negative, positive, negative. If this is a parabola that is concave up or is concave down. In this case, you should remember that when your value for a that we have here, that as we don't have anything, it's going to be a 1 that is positive. This parabola, if you graph it, it's going to look like this, with the axis going here through the middle. So essentially, what we have here is that to the left of 7, to the right of 7, this function is positive. Between -2 and 7, we are here. This function is negative, and then to the left of -2, it's positive again. In general, we can just say that we start to the right with the sign of the leading coefficient. In this case, this is positive, so it's going to be positive, and every simple root changes the sign, right? If you had a double root, then we'll keep the sign. Okay. So now, yes, how do we write our solution? Because we were looking for the values that are greater or greater than zero. Greater than zero means over here and over here. This is where my positive signs are. We are not going to include neither the -2, neither the 7, because we don't want that is greater or equal. If it said this, greater or equal than 0, then -2 and 7 will be a solution, but this is not the case. So we are not going to include those values, and we're going to write our solution. How can we write our solution? Two recommended ways. One way is just write, okay, x is less than -2 or x is greater than 7. This works as a solution for the mathematics A levels or AS levels. Another different option that we will write here in Uruguay, we use the interval notation. We will say that x belongs to the interval that goes from -infinity up to, but not including -2, union to 7 up to, but not including up to plus infinity. This is another way that you can write solutions for inequalities. In particular, this idea on solving inequalities is not the key element, but it's going to be useful for our next video that has to do with how can we study the number of solutions. So this video, I hope that it helped you remember how this inequality works. These are not precisely A levels content, but like a revision. And that's, well, if this is something that struggles with you, you can to my webpage where there are more examples on this. And well, as usual, if you have any comments or you want to add something, I know that this is not the only method. So if you want to share something in the comment section, please feel free to do so. And I hope to see you on the next video. It's going to be the last video on quadratics where we discuss the number of solutions. So as usual, thank you for watching.